Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Slake, and I'm terribly sorry that I did not post this earlier. I made the terrible faux pas. I thought I recorded it, but I forgot to turn the camera on. So I'm going to try, or forgot to push record. So I'm going to try this again. I know this is not a recording week, but I thought that it would be helpful to guide you through some of our work this week. So let's back up. Let me go ahead and share the camera first and share my screen, I should say. And let's get started. It's early morning for me as I'm trying to recover from the mistake that I made yesterday. I really do apologize that I did not post the recording last night. All right, so you should be seeing our screen. We are in week 10, as you will see over here on the left. It's week 10. And let's click up here so you can see the overall agenda. So this week, we will continue working on the PBAs. What I have done is to spread the PBA out over the course of the last half of the semester because it's a little bit overwhelming and I want to break it up in ways that you can work through without too much stress, but also so that you can have some positive takeaways from each of the learning experiences. You've already done the context for learning, so that's a good start. And this time we are going to be working on writing learning objectives. So this week involves learning the components of writing, um, learning objectives. I erased something last night and I forgot to erase both words. So let me go ahead and edit this in front of you. This is the writing process in place. Hold on, let's see. This week, we will continue working on the PBAs. This week's session involves learning the components of it said shared writing before, or writing mini um, oh, sorry, it does make sense, of writing useful learning objectives, the ABCD learning objective, and exploring the concept of shared writing. So in a minute, I'm going to explain what the ABC learning objective is, and I'm going to share what shared writing is. That's something that I want you to think about for a minute because it's just the way I said it is a little bit overwhelming. Shared writing. We're not talking about sharing writing. We're talking about a strategy called shared writing. And it's used primarily in grades pre-K through 3, while students need strong models and motivation to learn how to write during the emergent and beginner writing stages. That's not to say that you can't do shared writing when you're older with older students, but at that point, students have some basic skills. The reason we're doing the shared writing is that kids don't have the capacity. They're not writing yet. They are still learning how to spell, and they don't understand or haven't gotten under their belt certain basic constructs of what it means to write, because everything, of course, has been oral up to this point. So you're tapping into the oral tradition and what they know how to do in order to show them how you transfer what we say and what we think to paper. And we have a really good example I'm going to walk you through in a minute. So uh, this week, watch the video that I'm showing. I hope you'll see it all the way through the end. There's a folder filled with some resources um, for the PBA, and I just saw, because I wanted to make sure I was indeed recording. The PBA lesson planning for shared writing is a folder filled with some items that you want to see. And then there's a discussion for the ABCD learning objective, which also has content in it because I walk you through the process. And then, of course, you're going to be reading chapters 7 through 8. So here's a layout of all of the due dates. Tuesday has passed, and hopefully you have been talking with your groups on the second blog post. You're working through the writing process. I'm trying to facilitate a process online where you can feel the kinds of things and the work of the writing process that your students are going through. This week, I really wanted you to focus on the peer conferencing. One of our chapters this week is on peer conferencing. So you're going to think about what you've been through and what you have learned in your reading. This is one of the most essential elements of teaching writing. You're going to be posting that blog, the final draft, by Friday of this week. So I have not assigning anything new this week. All of that's been delivered and should be in the process. Thank you for those of you that are submitting your drafts to me through Google, as I asked you to do in the assignments last week. New this week, I'm setting you up for this week all the way through November 12th. So we're going to be working on ABCD learning objectives. You're going to write an initial response. And then on Friday, so that's due next Tuesday. And then next Friday, you're going to be posting your peer response as well as your initial response for chapter 7 and 8. And then on Tuesday of the week after, you will post your peer responses. And then next week, we're going to get started with writing the mini lesson plans. So I will talk about that next week. So let's go ahead and start looking at the first pieces, which is going to be this learning objective video here. Let's see if we can get that to pop up. It's in a discussion, and here are the pieces of it. So let me see if I can make that a little bit bigger for purposes of me reading and you seeing on the screen. So here are the instructions. You will take a deep dive into writing TEKS in the early childhood area all the way through grade 3. Use these resources. Click on this link to read the pre-K Texas guidelines. So here's the link. It's going to take you to the TEA website. And then once you get to that website, you're going to scroll down to find the ELA TEKS. And you'll see a window that looks like this. You're going to click on the very top one, and that takes you to the pre-K guidelines for comprehensive English. Okay. And once you're there, let's see if this is going to work here. No, that's just a picture. Goodness gracious, Dr. Slay, what were you thinking? So let's see if this link is going to work. There we go. Something's not working. It says TEA refuses to connect. That's not a good sign this early in the morning. Let's try that one more time. I am going to have to check that out. I apologize. I don't know why it's not working. It worked all day yesterday and into the evening. So at any rate, you should be able to see your learning objectives for early childhood there. Let's get back to the discussion. Number 2, let me open this up a little bit more. You're also going to click on TEKS Guide. That one works. That's the one that I am more familiar with. And of course, you do know that the pre-K TEKS are different than the K through 12 TEKS, because they're really working, students have different needs at pre-K, and they're very much at these emergent developmental stages. So let me model again. I think I've shown this to you before, but I want to make sure you have this down again. You're going to start, you're here at the TEA TEKS Guide, and you're going to pick your subject. So you're going to pick English Language Arts, and you're going to pick your grade level. I'm going to pick grade 2 because it's right smack in the middle of our band, and I'm going to say search. And you will see that all the ELA TEKS pop up, but you don't want all of them. You want to narrow your focus. So you're going to go to selected skills. So focus on this, really pay attention. What I want you to recognize is that the writing TEKS are the ones at the bottom. They usually start with multiple genre, author's purpose and craft, and composition. These are the reading TEKS, most likely, although remember, they overlap and they integrate. You can't really teach reading without teaching writing. And then, of course, you have a research strand down here. That's very important as well. But let's look at these for just a second. Multiple genre is just that. It works on teaching children it focuses on specific genre. Like here, it's talking about poems or drama and the elements that inform drama, etc. So those are, um, there's not too many for your grade level, so you're going to want to read through those to find the ones that are going to suit your needs or your interest, okay? Um, Response skills sometimes can be used to motivate readers, or writers, but we're going to focus on these three right here. So you also have author's purpose and craft. That's extremely important because you want to really focus on the concept of craft. When we teach writing, we have to teach kids to think about why are they writing? What's their purpose for writing? The particular text. And you're going to see an example where the teacher really does focus in on that. Whether or not she's teaching that TEK, it's part of the discussion. It's part of what goes into getting children's mindsets for writing a certain piece. Same thing for reading, but in this case, there is a specific TEK for that. In author's craft, teaching may be of a very specific element of developing text structure, using graphic features, print features, figurative language description, etc. So here's one that you're going to see in a minute. So it uses discusses the use of descriptive, literal, and figurative language. Focus. You don't have to do all of them in a particular standard. You can just pick one of them because often, remember, TEKs take time to teach. It's not a one-off. You don't just teach it and you're done. You never come back to it. We may teach the same learning standard, which is this one over here, for a long period of time. And we often come back to it. And so here, let's go down to this one, which is, of course, the classic writing one, because composition is the writing process. So you're developing drafts. You are organizing with a particular structure. You are working on developing an idea with specific and relevant details. You'll see an example of that. For example, you might be teaching past, present, and future verb tenses at second grade. So these are the TEKs for second grade in the three different strands. So let's go back and look at what we had here. So we were talking about the ABCD learning objectives. Let's click on that one more time. Whoops, I didn't mean to click on that. Let's try it one more time. Here we go. And we're going to scroll down so you can see the rest of the prompt. Okay, so we just talked about you taking a deep dive into the TEKs and reading them, getting your head wrapped around it. Oh, one more thing. I'm so sorry, I forgot to show you. I want to remind you that you click on the TEK, you learn a lot more about it because they're not so simple as what you just see, but what they have done is to isolate key terms. And here is the larger TEK. You can read all of the writing. So this is what you would type to put down the whole TEK. Here's the number. Then you have some explanation of what it means and what the terms are, what it looks like to demonstrate its proficiency, which is extremely important, especially when you're looking at assessment. And then it's the writing process video, because this falls into the realm of the writing process. And I cannot stress how important it is to really understand what all of that means. So I'm going to back up just a minute and get back to our instructions. Okay, now here's the next step. I want you to go to your original guided reading groups because I have assigned a writing grade band for you. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the groups. Should pop up. Let's open the link. And you will see here's that original sign-up sheet that you guys had early on when you were doing the guided reading chapters. I added another line to it. It's another column where it's the shared writing group. So this is your shared writing task that you're working on. And all I did was add pre-K through third grade so that it kind of aligns with the areas that you were working on before, because your assignment is only going to cover these areas. Please take note, these are individual assignments, but you are using your small groups for conferring and for getting feedback from each other. So each one of you is doing something independently. You just need to be able to post and to share your thoughts and your thinking. I cannot stress how important the sharing part is, because some of these tasks are a little bit they're weighty. It takes, it's part of the planning process. It's also part of what you will do when you are teaching. You're going to be doing your own work. You're going to be in your own classrooms. You have full autonomy in that way, but you must be able to share what you're doing in your PLC meetings. So we're emulating that same process. This is important. All right, and it is part of your assessment to see that you can work in groups and that you give each other effective and useful feedback, and that you meet our deadlines to be able to do that because your team members depend on it. Okay, so we just talked about your reading groups so that you can see what you're assigned to do. So here's the task. You're going to select 3 TEKs for the grade level your group has been assigned, okay? Be sure, notice it says 3 TEKs. Be sure the TEKs address the following areas: motivation to write, writing as a process, and conventions in writing. I just showed you those strands. Notice that your writing process ones are going to come under composition. Your conventions for learning to write are going to come under composition and author's craft. There is no TEKs for motivation to write, and yet it's kind of all the way across. It's part of the process and the other decisions that you make. You are probably going to be doing something with purposes for writing. You might be doing something with developing a piece of writing that is in response to a text that you're reading. That's where you have to get a little bit creative, but you have to be able to develop a motivation for writing. And the pre-K TEKs definitely talk about motivation for writing. Um, you also develop the writing process and the conventions because those are the skills that you're teaching in a process. So you do an awful lot when you're teaching writing. Um, so next, you're going to decide on a writing task that you want your students to be able to do. What's your product? What are they going to do at the end of the day? So you're going to write a paragraph, you're going to write sentences, you're going to write an essay, you're going to write an argument, you're going to write a description of something. You have to have a reason to write. That's part of the motivation. So based on the TEKs that you selected, you're going to select one ABCD learning objective for accomplishing that product. Okay, this is where we get into what ABCD is. So you are going to focus on audience, behavior, condition, or degree. Remember, audience is the learner. The audience, and by the way, before I explain this, because I don't want to go into depth here, you're going to be looking at these videos. Please, these are 2 videos that will help you, and then here's some examples. So the writing objective, ABCD learning objectives is a professor who walks you through the process. And it's a little cheesy, but it's kind of fun because she pretends she has a classroom. So I like the way that she was able to make this fun and yet really take that process of what ABCD means. The one thing I am going to tell you is that ABCD learning objectives are meant to be measurable. Okay, they have to be specific and they have to be measurable. So this formula is meant to help you hone in on that objective because that is the beginning of the alignment process, and your lessons are evaluated on alignment. All right, so you start by thinking about who is your audience. In this case, your audience is going to be the student, okay? It's not business executives, it's not teachers. In this case, it is the students for your purposes. In your case, it could be the 3rd grade students, the 1st grade students. Maybe it could be GT students, because you're framing that makes a difference in how you're going to proceed. But you can just say the students will. And you think about their developmental stage. So I just mentioned to you, it could be various levels, maybe the emergent learner, maybe it's pre-K, maybe it's kindergarten, because that frames the rest of the lesson. You can just write the students will. What's the behavior? The behavior is going to be what they're going to do. This is where you focus in on the verb in the TEKs. Remember, we took a deep dive into taking the teaks apart in order to understand them in work that you did a couple of weeks ago. Well, you're going to go back to deconstructing the teaks in order to understand what you want your students to be able to do. Are they going to write? Are they going to describe? Are they going to analyze? Um, are they going to include? You have to think about what they want them to be able to do by the end of your lesson. And the condition is the circumstances or the context in which they're going to be able to do this. So are they going to do it in a one paragraph essay or paragraph? Are they going to do it in a 3-page or 3-paragraph essay? Are they going to be doing this with blocks? Are they going to be using it in response to a particular text? You have to define it and extend your thinking about how this lesson is going to be, what's it going to include. And the degree, of course, is the assessment piece. How well are they going to do that behavior that you asked them to do? So I will show you some examples of this. I'm not going to describe them all because you haven't seen the videos yet. Please do watch those. It'll make a lot more sense. But you will notice that the speaker in the video goes through a color coding system. Do not pay attention to these. These were different tasks. This was me setting it up to teach in a face-to-face lesson some time ago. But I do, as you walk through, you're going to see some examples of something that students did way back when I taught this. That would have been an internship in 2021, as you can see. So here's an example. The students will discuss the theme of rainbow fish with a partner by using illustrations and context clues. That was a first grade writing teak. They color coded it for the audience, the B for the behavior. You've got the discuss, and you've got using, and then you've got the condition. The condition includes rainbow fish with a partner. And it's important that you include using illustrations and context clues. So in this case, you've got the D for first grade. At this point, they're being really specific on what it means to be successful. So they're going to be including context clues and illustrations. Writing is not like math, so you're not going to say 5 times out of 10 or 3 out of 5 responses are correct. You really have to set up the conditions around which you want, what you want to see as being successful. A lot of times we use rubrics, and next week we're going to talk a lot more about assessment. So, but you have to know where you're going. So there's several examples, so you can scroll down to see the other ones as well, just to get your head wrapped around what it is that you're going to be doing. So you're going to want to make sure that in your posts that you're going to write the teaks and then the learning objective. So I need to make sure to add that you're going to actually add the teaks to your discussion post as well. Okay, so here's the part about the different learning objectives. And then you're going to write an initial response. So you're going to post the learning. Let me write that down right now. Edit. Okay. So in your initial response, let me make this a little bit bigger so we can get to the bottom. It says, post one ABC learning objective for a shared writing lesson in your small group discussion board on D2L. So I'm going to say, post the teaks you selected. Then let's make that a different color. Okay, let's go back up here. Come on, Mousy, do your thing. We'll make that black. We'll make one green, first step. Okay. And this is going to be step number 2. So we'll make that one orange. It's Halloween after all. Oops, error. And fix that one. Okay. All right. Oh, and then there's a 4th step. 3rd step, justify why you wrote this task and learning objective. So what do I mean by that? So then you're going to explain, based on these teaks, how did you decide to use this particular learning objective? there's not a right or wrong answer. It's really you sharing your thinking and what was going on when you wrote that learning objective. Why did you do that? Reflection is a huge part of teaching. So we do a lot of it in this course and hopefully in your other courses as well, because you need to develop the capacity to do that, to be a good responsive teacher. So think about it. In order to justify why you chose the things that you did, because teaching is about decision making, you need to explain how you imagine your that fictitious audience that you picked, how you imagine, remember the context for learning. You learned about your students living in various communities. That wasn't a futile exercise, but it's for you to get your head wrapped around the kinds of kids you would be teaching in a given community as you picked it. So your community maybe was McKinney, where there's a lot of parks, there's a lot of water bodies, it's a natured community. There's the Herd Nature Museum. That's a big part of living in community. In another area, some of our rural communities have a lot of that. There may be another inner city community that's more city-like. Maybe they have the Texas Fair. There are other communities that might be a little bit more affluent, and so they bring in different elements. So you have to know your community and the group that you are going to be working with. And because you're going to want to write a task that kids can relate to based on their experiences and the things that they know to be true. You'll see that in an example I'm about to give you shortly. So you're going to tap into that in order to write your justification. Okay. So, and I explain all of that. You're going to go back to your context of learning for learning to be able to help you shape your head around this line of thinking. And you're going to brainstorm what you think this writing mini lesson will involve. So this is the next part. I want you to think about, okay, how am I going to teach it? What am I going to do? You don't have to write a lesson plan. That's next week. I just want you to get started brainstorming. And this is where your team is really going to help. You bring the TEKS, you bring the learning objective, and you start brainstorming some thoughts. Your team is going to chime in then, because the following Friday, I want you to read and respond to your group's members' work. So here's where you're going to look at their objective and think, does it fit the formula? Does it work? Does it make sense? Is it doable? And then you're also going to give some feedback on some ideas for teaching. Maybe somebody's at a loss and they need some help, and you can offer some suggestions. This is where you really do bring all your brains together. There's something else that I want you to do, and that is to look at this video. And I want to see where I posted it. So I'm going to save this and get back out of that. When I did the video before, the one that I forgot to record, I had some videos of some teaching examples, but I can see that those are missing for some reason. So let me see what I can do really quick, because I've closed them all out. Let me look up here, because there's two that are perfect. I must have not saved them in this particular task, because you absolutely need to see these two examples. Let me look right up here. See if I can find, they're not popping up here. Okay, so let me go and do a quick search. Let's see. What was my prompt? Oh, you know why? It's in the shared writing folder. Aha, I do remember. So let me go back and get to the shared writing folder. And I need to link it. I put it in the instructions. That's why. Let me go down to week 10. I'm going to try to find a more efficient way. So it says, watch Dr. Slay's video. That's this. Review all the resources in the shared writing. I did put that in there. Okay. I just jumped the gun and went straight to the assignments. My apologies. I didn't follow my own instructions. Okay. So here you're going to see the PBA lesson planning for shared writing, and you're going to see the major assignments. It's going to be when you go in, here it is, PBA lesson planning for shared writing, and you've got several things. It's not as overwhelming as the list looks. It says these are going to be basically some very quick and short blog posts that I want you to look at, because it goes into, this is actually comes from a lesson planning website, which is NCTE. I honestly think you should bookmark NCTE because you can find a lot of great lesson plans. So you can get some ideas here for some writing tasks. So please hone in on that. Notice some of them actually go into the upper grades. So as I said, we usually do this in the younger grades, but it's not that you can't. Excuse pardon me. It's not that you can't do it in the older grades, okay? Here's another one, another really important one. This is going through the steps and helps you get your head wrapped around what shared writing is, and it gives you an example of a mini lesson so you can start to shape your thinking around it. And then there's another one here as well. These aren't meant to take up a lot of time, but they are meant to be to give you some background information and help you be more successful on your tasks. This one's a little bit longer. It's kind of like a flyer, but it really goes into understanding the concept of shared writing, what it is and what it isn't, and what it looks like. And now this is the stuff I really, really wanted you to see. So that's why I want you to go through this folder first. Look at these shared examples. There's 2 videos. I'm going to talk you through the first one because this is important. Oh, this is your body. You know, there's always something that comes up and we can skip all of it.
Write stories, they write letters, they write different things to tell us about things. And we know when an author writes a story or when an author does writing, there's 3 reasons an author writes. What word do we have to remember? Why an author writes? Everyone, what word? Very good. Right. So our P stands.
So look at what the teacher is doing. She is framing this lesson around a particular concept. She's getting them ready to understand what their task is going to be, what it's going to look like, and what their, or I shouldn't say what it's looking like, they haven't seen that yet, but what is going to be their purpose for writing. They have learned so far that there are 3 reasons that authors write. They make it very simple at this level. They write to persuade, she's about to tell them, P. They write to inform, or they write to entertain. Well, they're going to be doing one of them. And so listen here.
And E stands for entertain. So writing today, we're going to try to convince someone to do something, okay?
So she's getting them motivated. This is the motivation piece. It is the motivation in itself is not the teaks, but it is framing their writing around a particular genre, around a particular task, around something that students can relate to. So listen to what it is that she's going to pick that students would be able to relate to. This is very important. It has to be relatable because kids can't write about something they don't know.
Now, we've been working really, really hard in here. I think we need to write about deserving extra resets today. So we need to keep that in mind as we're writing today who our audience is, Mrs. Rath. And we need to keep in mind what we're trying to do. We're trying to persuade her. The topic sentence introduces what we are talking about. So our whole paragraph.
If you didn't catch it, she threw in there that they need to keep in mind their audience. Too often we forget to frame our writing around a purpose and an audience. You are writing for, in this case, Mrs. Ross, which is probably the principal or someone that has the ability to influence whether or not they have more recess. So she's going to tell them their task.
It's going to be about what, Ella? Deserving extra recess. All right. So let's work together. Let's come up with a good topic sentence that would introduce our paragraph.
Let's work together. This is a shared writing experience. She's going to do the writing. She's going to model the thinking. She's going to model what it's going to look like as they put it together. It is shared. They're all working together. Of course, she's the leader.
Observing. Turn and talk. Recess. So let's hear some good topic sentences that we could write about deserving extra recess. All right, Brennan, hands down, eyes are on Brennan. Oh, you deserve extra recess in 1D. I love that. He didn't put details in there. He just introduced his topic, right? Now remember when I'm writing.
So a couple things to look at. One, she just taught them how to write an opening sentence. She's using the children's ideas. She's not telling them what to write. She is guiding them and facilitating the process for the students to do the writing. And she's going to write their particular ideas. She's also going to model certain specific conventions. So that's a skill, writing a topic sentence. That's part of teaching them the format of writing a paragraph. She's about to teach them how to indent, and she's using a very specific tactile method for doing that. And there's one more thing that she taught. It's not one of the TEKs, it's classroom management. She told the kids all eyes on Devin when he's speaking. So notice that little girl in pink turned around. That's a strategy and a tool that she uses to get everyone to listen to each other and to manage the class. That is something that you will be observed on, all those little tricks.
My antennas tell me to indent. All right, so we're gonna leave a good space. All right, so we deserve. Let's put that in our mouth. Let's do that. Ready? Let's pull out the sound. Ready? Deserve. D D E E ER. We know ER makes an sound. Deserve. Oh, E, I heard E. I like that. All right, so we deserve extra. All right, so we deserve extra recess in 1D. And the thought and the sentence, here you need that punctuation. Okay, guys.
So notice what she has done. She's taught indenting and she reinforced periods. She's not teaching periods. They clearly already know that every sentence does have a period, but she is reminding them that you always have to have it. She is doing what is called a think aloud through this. She did the thinking aloud in the process of teaching them how to spell challenging words. So she had them use their phonics skills that she's been teaching in reading to transfer it to being able to write as they learn all of these embedded skills. So maybe one of the skills was learning how to indent, because indentation is part of paragraph writing. Okay. She used the children's ideas, and now they're going to move on to the next piece of the paragraph.
Yeah, our topic sentence. Awesome job. Now what do I need to do in my paragraph? We gotta add some details. Now we told her, our audience, Mrs. Ross, that we deserve extra recess. But guys, we need to convince her why we deserve it. We need some details as why we deserve extra recess here in our class. Berkeley, hands down, eyes on Berkeley. Learning. 134 days. That is an awesome detail, guys. Not only did she say you're learning, she said how many days we've been learning for. Berkeley, do you think you can come up here and help me write the sentence? I need to help her. We need to work together.
So once again, now she's teaching a new skill that is part of paragraph writing, and that is adding details to support the topic sentence. Notice that it's shared because it's coming from the students. It is not coming from her ideas. It is coming from the students. She's also using a tool. We will often use this concept in Write lesson planning of supports. I may ask you, well, what are your supports to help students and to support them in their learning? And in this case, you could say it's her think aloud because she's walking the kids through how you develop this. You could also say that it is this visual image that she has. It looks like it might be a caterpillar. The head is the topic sentence. It comes at the head of the paragraph at the front. And here she has her details. Here's detail 1. She constantly goes back to it to help make connections between what the kids are doing, what she's writing, and the tool, so that kids learn to make all of these connections. And she's involving the children. She's not just taking their ideas and writing it. She's asking children to be a part of this process. So she is engaging them through her voice. She's engaging them by making them active participants. She engaged them through the turn and talk, multiple ways of doing that.
Our first word. What kind of letters you gonna start with, everyone? Capital, right? Excellent job up there. All right, Berkeley. We have our topic. We have our detail. Oh, what do we still need? One more detail. Anna, hands down, eyes are on Anna. Anna, you said that. First you said we deserve, but you changed it to we should. Why did you do that?
Notice she just said you changed it. She is taking them through the writing process. That is one of the most important things to recognize, that writing is not, it is a set of stages, but it's a fluid set of it's fluid movement across the stages. So she is teaching them that we naturally change our mind, we naturally edit, we naturally revise. She's not even editing here, really. She is teaching them and allowing them to revise and facilitating the thinking that sometimes we can find a better word for something, and there's a reason for that. So watch how she proceeds with this. This is revision.
Sentences that started the same way. So instead of we deserve, she changed it to we should. So our conclusion is similar to our topic sentence. All right, so who thinks they can come up with a good conclusion to wrap up our writing? All right, Olivia, hands down, eyes on Olivia. I love it. She is wrapping it up with a question. Let's come up, let's have Olivia, but we need a helper. She can't do this on her own, guys. D-O, do you? You are at the end of the sentence, but, what did you put, Olivia? Why'd you put a question mark? In your asking it. She's asking a question. Now, we need to go through and look at our writing and make.
So I think you got it. She has now introduced or reinforced the question mark. Clearly, this video is showing that kids have learned how to do this, and she's reinforcing a lot of these skills. It's probably a demonstration video, but she's including so many elements of a really strong lesson, and the kids are extremely well behaved. But this is a testament to the fact that she has taught all of these skills in the context of authentic literacy, authentic reading and writing experiences. She's probably used some literature. You can see the books behind her. She has written with kids. They know how to behave. They know what to do at the carpet. They know how to work with her through writing. And these things you wouldn't be able to pull off a video like that if kids hadn't practiced beforehand. So she reinforced the punctuation as well. That's another teaks. Now, she's moving into one more thing. She's now moving into pieces of revising, but the editing, because she just said, and you'll see this in a minute as it finishes her sentence, that what do we do now? We go back and we read the whole thing. So you're teaching them the process of how to check for understanding, check your own work and revise. Too often kids say, okay, I finished my last word, I'm done. But you have to teach them to check their work to see not that it's correct. Although with our young kids, we tend to say fix. It's really, fix to me is the connotation of that there's something that's wrong that you need to make right. And it's not that something's wrong. It's just that you will see that there's a better way that you want to change something. So she's going to take them through that right now.
Does anyone notice any mistakes in our writing? Well, Max, what do you think's wrong? What else is wrong with our writing? He's right. What do you suggest we could do to fix this? More. We deserve more. Come on up here. What? All right, so how are you gonna change that? Go ahead, Luke, you do it? All right, and what are you gonna write instead? More.
I'm going to pause it right here because I want you to recognize she has taught kids revising techniques. She's taught them, or the editing marks. Some teachers are going to do that. I used to teach it early on as well. So these 3 lines down here means that they need to capitalize. Why? Because it's at the end of a sentence, a beginning of a sentence, it follows a period. So that's why you would capitalize this. They're inserting a word. And so they know that they need a word between class and should. They are taking this word out and adding a different word. They're replacing it with a new word that they think is more effective in this case. And because they wrote it twice, they thought they should be consistent and do it again up here. So this is the editing element of the writing process. It's that stage. So she walked them all the way through the writing process in just writing this one particular paragraph.
How many hours do you?
All right, I think that should take care of it. And you would think I watch a whole lot of videos of men talking about various different things. I don't know why these are popping up. But I am going to back up right here. Maybe I need to get a paid version, but I am not going to pay for YouTube right now. At any rate, here we are. We were working on there's a toolbox up here that I do not want. It's blocking my view. We were looking, I know, we want to go back up here to week 10 because here's the assignments. Remember I told you that there were 2 videos. This other one is a teacher named Courtney, and she's teaching a 1st grade lesson. Here it is, the 1st grade shared writing lesson. It's also very good, and she has a whole nother, I think must be an instructional coach, because I don't think these are her students, but she is taking them through a process where she's for writing as well. So please watch these examples, study them, take them apart, learn from them. And then we have something here that says it's the PBA. Let's see, I'm not exactly sure. I don't remember what that was all about. So I think I need to take that little piece out. I think it's just a duplicate. So thank you for letting me find my little I listed it twice. I don't know why. My mistake. I'm going to fix that. So you have your PBA for shared lesson for writing a shared writing assignment. And here we are in week 2. So this is number 2. So here you have the videos to teach you how to do it. You've got the information about how to write an ABCD learning objective. Why do we do those? Because they're specific and measurable. And then you're going to be reading chapters 7 and 8. And we have 2 specific prompts here. So let's go back and look at what those are. Number 1, oops, I forget. It doesn't work that way. So I'm going to go down here. Here we have it. You can see the description here. It says this one, remember chapter 7 is about writing conferences. Notice the title. It says conferring individualized instruction. So this is a great way to differentiate and teach children one-on-one from the process of where they are, build community and set goals. Okay. The writing conference is one of the most important, most powerful tools that you're going to use for teaching writing, because no 2 writers write the same way. And hopefully you're finding that as well in your own experiences as teachers learn to become writers as well. So you have 4 things that I want you to think about when you read the chapter. Describe your experiences with the writing conferences, either as a student or as an observer in someone else's classroom. I'm going to self-edit right here because I see an error. It's very small, but that's what we do when we constantly reread. I forgot to put a space there. Okay, you're going to describe one big takeaway from what you read about conferring. And I want you to think about how your experiences in writing conferences, whether it's through this class or maybe you write blogs or you write for other people somewhere. Some of us are writers and some of us are afraid to write. Or maybe it's what you've observed in classrooms, or maybe it's what you experienced early as a student when you were in school not too long ago. So compare what you're learning to what you're experiencing and what questions bubble up about this process. Okay, so that's your first prompt for chapter 7. And then for chapter 8, let's go back and find chapter 8 right here. And it asks you to read chapter 8, which has to do with small group instruction, why it's so valuable and rewarding to you as a teacher. You can get more bang for your buck, and for the students as well. This is truly where you get to zone in and work with kids at their level. And you don't always have to do it in a conference. You can do it in small groups. You can even have small group conferences as well. So what's your biggest takeaway from reading this chapter, and what challenges you? What ideas challenge you? I want you to write at least half a page in response to this particular chapter as well. And that's your work for this week and next week. And don't forget to continue working on your dyslexia training. Thank you for tuning in and for listening. I hope that this was helpful in shaping your brain around what the kind of work we're doing this week and next week. I really look forward to reading your blogs and hope that you are having some good experiences working with your teams to develop your writing. Talk to you next time, and I will be online again next Wednesday to record next week's work when we move into lesson planning. So let's see if I can go ahead and stop sharing, and I'm going to tune out. So hopefully it's going to stop recording because it says recording. Yay.